So they're calling him an Islamist radical. They're saying New York City's new mayor is pushing Sharia agenda. But here's the truth. Zoran Memdani hasn't done or said a single thing to justify that claim. He's simply Muslim, and he dared to criticize Israel. That's all it takes now to be labeled a terrorist in America. Here's Ted Cruz, Senator Ted Cruz, saying Zoran Memdani is an actual jihadist.
Look, last night was a disaster. It was an electoral blowout. The results in New Jersey were disastrous. The results in Virginia were terrible. The results in New York, Comrade Mamdani is the face of the Democrat Party. We have an actual communist jihadist. And it's important to note, Mamdani is not a socialist. He is a full-on communist. He has called for seizing the means of production in our economy. He is a Marxist. That is profoundly dangerous. And look, I know there's some Republicans who are saying, well, gosh, this will be good politically because he'll be the face of the Democrat Party. I think it's terrible for America. I think, New York is the largest city in America. It is the financial capital of the world. It is the media capital of the world. And New York, we are going to see New Yorkers die. This is a lunatic who wants to abolish the police.
I didn't think it could happen to me, but just recently, someone stole my information and actually bought a car under my name in Texas. While I was standing in the Idaho DMV getting my new driver's license, a thief was driving off the dealer lot pretending to be me. And I only caught it because I was getting bombarded with alerts. Now imagine if I hadn't seen them in time. And this is exactly why today's sponsor, Aura, matters. If you've ever wondered how scammers get your personal info, your phone number, your address, even where you supposedly work, it's because of data brokers. These shady companies collect your data and sell it to anyone, from marketers to scammers, and they make billions doing it. They don't ask your permission. And while they're legally required to remove your info if you ask, they make the process nearly impossible on purpose. Believe me, I'm going through it right now. But if I had Aura set up before, this thief would have had a much harder time. Aura automatically scans and scrubs your information from those data broker sites, and then it keeps it off. It also gives you real-time fraud alerts. So instead of finding out a day later that someone used your name, you get notified right away. That's the kind of tool I wish I had in place when all of this happened. But Aura is more than just removing your data from shady brokers. It's an all-in-one digital security app. It alerts you if your personal info is found on the dark web. It monitors your credit and bank accounts in real time. It gives you a secure VPN, password manager, antivirus, and more. And if something does happen, Aura covers you with up to $5 million in identity theft insurance and 24/7 US-based fraud support. The fact that companies profit off of our stolen data while we're left vulnerable is outrageous. I learned that the hard way. But I'm not leaving myself unprotected anymore, and you shouldn't either. Protect yourself and your family with Aura. Try it free for 14 days at aura.com/Kim Iverson. And in just 2 weeks, Aura will show you where your personal data is being exposed and start scrubbing it off the internet automatically. Again, that's aura.com/Kim Iverson. Here's Chip Roy, Representative Chip Roy, saying under Sharia law, no freedom of religion, no freedom of speech, no women's rights, save Western civilization, stop Sharia law, he says. So obviously implying Mamdani is here, the Muslims are here, and now we're all going to be living under Sharia law. And Ted Cruz saying, we got an actual jihadist. This was an image shared also on Twitter. And this was Dr. Malouf saying, how the hell does the city that experienced the biggest Islamic terrorist attack in history vote for a Muslim mayor? So implying that Mamdani is somehow responsible for this. He was 10 years old when 9/11 happened. He is absolutely not responsible for this, but some say actually he is because he's rubbing elbows with people who were responsible for the terrorist attack. That is what Glenn Beck says. He says that the majority of Zoran Mamdani's campaign money came from CARE, the Council on American Islamic Relations, aka the unindicted co-conspirator named in the FBI's 2007 terrorism finance case. Turn the volume up on this, he says. Watch.
New York City just had the most important election they've ever had. Socialism. Want to know where the majority of the money came from for Mamdani? Here's Linda Sarsour with the answer.
right now I'm a little more quiet because I'm on the quiet side of this race, but I'm going to tell you that once November 4th comes around, I will tell the story. The story is not just, that it's random that Zahran ascended to this place. It is our Muslim American communities. And I'll also say that it's Muslim money. The PACs that have supported Zahran, or a particular PAC that has supported Zahran, is probably over 80% of Muslim American donors in this country. High net donors, grassroots donors. And I want to make the point that the Unity and Justice Fund PAC, which is the CARE Super PAC, was the largest institutional donor to the pro-Zahran PAC in New York.
Ha! Seems like useful information. I mean, unless you're bored with that kind of stuff, because what does it all mean? So the majority of the money, per Sarsour there, came from CARE, as in the Council on American Islamic Relations, as in the unindicted co-conspirator named in the FBI's terrorism finance case of 2007, as in the one that Chip Roy is just introducing a bill saying they can't get any money. They shouldn't get it. It's a terrorist front here. They kind of work kind of hand in hand. Maybe not hand in hand, but they've held hands with somebody who's held hands with the other. You know what I mean?
What is an unindicted co-conspirator? Think about that phrase for a minute. I've been hearing this a lot, seeing this a lot on social media, hearing it a lot in the news. What is an unindicted co-conspirator? They're using this to gaslight you, to make you believe something they want you to believe that is just factually not true. An unindicted co-conspirator is an innocent person. That's what that is. Unindicted co-conspirator. That means they never had any evidence to indict them. Believe me, if they had evidence to indict them, they would have. If they had any evidence against them at all, they would have indicted. I think we all know that. But they didn't have any evidence. And so they just name people or name organizations or name groups of people as unindicted co-conspirators because they're trying to smear their reputations. It's a scarlet letter. That's what it is. And it's meant to get people to hate certain people or distrust them or mistrust those that associate with them, because now you're hanging out with an unindicted co-conspirator. You mean an innocent person you never had any evidence against? I mean, they're trying to get us to not use our brains. They use these types of phrases. They use like this, he's a jihadist. He's bringing in Sharia law. And he's hanging out with unindicted co-conspirators. They use these phrases just to fearmonger you, to get you to go along with their thinking and their agenda. And they have no evidence of any of it. There's no evidence whatsoever that Mamdani has ever said anything about ushering in Sharia law. He's never uttered anything that even sounds like that. He's never said anything that he's somehow a jihadist. No, he's never said any of these things. And now with Glenn Beck and many others like Glenn online and political commentators pointing out relationships with unindicted co-conspirators. Are you kidding me? You mean an innocent person that you just want to smear? But that's what that means. So we have to be aware of the phrasing and always look for the evidence, because they're banking on us not, right? They're banking on us just taking at face value, oh, the guy's a jihadist, he wants to bring in Sharia law. Well, you must have heard him say something in order to make you think that. So, wow, yeah, it must be true. But have you heard anything that he's actually said that leads you to believe he's a jihadist, other than the fact that he's Muslim, he's proud of his Muslim faith, and that at times during events or rallies, he'll actually pray using Muslim prayers or using Muslim phrases? How is that any different from a Christian who prays at their events or a Jew who prays at their events? It's not. There's nothing different. It's just the bigotry against the Muslims and playing on that hate, playing on that distrust. And that's why they're saying, how dare he pray his Muslim prayers at his events? It's okay if a Christian does it. It's okay if a Jew does it. But how dare the Muslim? And in New York, of all places, how dare he? How dare he bring his Muslim religion to New York? Emily Schrader, she says, gross, as if every jihadist in America was at Mamdani's victory party, from Mehdi Hassan to Hassan Piker, Jamal Bowman, Rania Khalik, and Mahmoud Khalil. Ahem, why is he still in America? New York City is cooked, and she plays this video from Mamdani's victory party.
We got Mahmoud Khalil is here. Mahmoud Khalil is here. And he voted 5 times. He voted illegally 5 times. Mahmoud Khalil, how do you feel tonight?
I don't know how anyone feels today. Like this campaign proves what politics actually is.
Oh no, a bunch of Muslims celebrating a Muslim winning an election. How dare they all get together and do this in New York City of all places? Don't they know they are all collectively responsible for 9/11? Don't they know? Right. Well, that has been actually the way of thinking, hasn't it, against the Palestinians? They're all collectively responsible for anything that happens and they all deserve to die, including the children. We've seen this way of thinking. And the last thing we want is for that way of thinking to infiltrate the American way. To think like this. Nobody would even think twice if there were a female president who wins and a bunch of women get together and celebrate. No one's going to say, how dare those women celebrate? How dare those women get together and celebrate the winning of a woman? Or if it were a bunch of Christians who are like, oh, it's so great. We finally got somebody who's going to go and reverse Roe v. Wade. We saw this over and over again. The Christians celebrating the nomination of certain judges, or Christians celebrating the certain win of Christian politicians so that they could potentially march forward their agenda. And you know what? It's perfectly fair for them to celebrate those wins. Or Jews that get together and say, wow, we got a Jewish governor in the state of Pennsylvania. Oh my gosh, Josh Shapiro wins. Oh, how dare all those Jews get together and celebrate? Don't they know they just need to hide? Hide in tunnels, right? That's what they should be doing, hiding in their tunnels in New York City, rather than getting together and celebrating. I mean, why can't people celebrate? But they're trying to get you to, because it's this group, they're not allowed to celebrate. Everybody else is allowed to celebrate, but this group. Although I'm sure we'd probably see some criticism of the women wearing the pussy hats, right? Celebrating the win of a female president. We probably would see that criticism for sure. Or if Christians get together, and what would criticism would we hear? We'd say, oh, look at the white supremacists. Look at the white supremacists who are all racist getting together and celebrating the win of their racist candidate. We hear this, but guess what? That talking point, what the left did over and over and over, that didn't work. That actually backfired. And yet here are Republicans doing that same thing, pointing at a person and saying, we believe you're a jihadist, even though we have no evidence whatsoever, but we're still going to smear you. We're still going to smear all of your unindicted co-conspirators. I mean, basically now they're making Mamdani also an unindicted terrorist, is what they're trying to claim. He's an unindicted jihadist. Here's another, this is a AI meme that has been trending to show Mamdani blowing up New York like a terrorist. Okay, so what is the evidence exactly? Why are people saying this about Mamdani? Well, he's a Muslim. He's openly Muslim. He prays at his events. His parents are they're from India. They're one of his parents is an engineer, computer engineer, software engineer, I believe. The other one is a doctor, highly educated from India, ended up immigrating to Uganda. That's where he was born. And then they came to the United States. They're highly educated, but they're Muslim. They're Muslims. And he's a Muslim. And he's open about being Muslim. He's not afraid to hide his religion. He doesn't feel like he needs to hide his religion. I don't think anybody should have to. Doesn't matter what your religion is. You should be able to wear it loud and proud. Go for it. But because he does, people say, oh, he's ushering in Sharia law. He's ushering in his jihadi agenda. He's going to Islamify New York City. He's going to Islamify America. Actually, it's going to spread like a cancer all across the whole country. And they say this because he's Muslim. They also say that he is a jihadist because of his associations, once again, with these unindicted co-conspirators. He praised Brooklyn Imam Siraj Wahhaj, said he was a pillar of the Bed-Stuy community. Did I say that right? I don't know if I said that right. I never pronounce the New York stuff right. And then a lot of you from New York and on the East Coast make fun of me, and perfectly fine. I'm a West Coaster. A lot of stuff over here you can't pronounce either, so get off my back. It says, despite Wahhaj being an unindicted co-conspirator, in the 1993 World Trade Center bombing and a father to a convicted ISIS recruit. So once again, unindicted co-conspirator, pay attention to that phrase. It means nothing. It means this person is innocent. We didn't have a shred of evidence. And if we did, we would have indicted them, but we didn't. So we don't. And so we're just going to label them. We're going to brand them unindicted co-conspirator. And because he's related to somebody who joined ISIS. Okay, Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s son fought for Ukraine. And Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is now in the Trump administration that's been trying to end that war. But do we say that Robert F. Kennedy Jr., because he's the father of a son that went off to fight for Ukraine, do we say that he must then be somehow responsible for Ukraine, and he's now in bed with Ukraine and he doesn't want to end the war? I mean, he's been one of the most vocal advocates against this war and been a person that's laid out exactly why this war is even existing. He doesn't have any control over what his son does. He didn't encourage him to go do it. He even gave interviews saying he didn't like it at all, and his son didn't tell him because he knew his dad wouldn't like it. But now we're going to say that parents are responsible for the choices of their fighting age sons who can go and do whatever they want. We're going to just say, well, guilt by association. So are you responsible for everything your parents did? Are you responsible for what your siblings did? But nonetheless, this unindicted co-conspirator, and how dare he call him a pillar of the community? They say he also campaigned at the Islamic Society of Bay Ridge, where the imam praised Hamas fighters and called for Israel's annihilation. Well, guess what? A lot of us don't think Israel should exist anymore in the way that it has. A lot of us think that Zionism needs to end, that it's clearly a radical ideology leading to a genocide. That clearly, if you have an agenda in your mind that only one group of people of one background can live in an area, but you got 7 million other people who are others living in that region, where do you think that mentality leads? Got to get rid of those 7 million. They can't be here because this land is for one group and one group only. A lot of us feel like that needs to end. That yes, Israel needs to no longer be a state in the way that it has been envisioned for the past 100 years. It's got to go. A lot of people agree with that. And not only that, but Israel and Palestine are foreign countries. These are two foreign countries. So you should be free as an American. They're not America. They're not part of America. You should be free as an American to just choose whichever side you want to root for. And if you want to say the IDF soldiers are heroes and you want to send them goodie baskets and wish them well and write them love letters, you're allowed to do that. And if you want to do the same thing for Hamas and say, no, these guys are actually the real heroes and lovey-dovey them and send them a bunch of gift baskets, you could try. Israel won't let those gift baskets get in, but you should be free to do that because these are two foreign countries. They have nothing to do with America. It'd be very similar to two Americans sitting around and one says, you know what, I'm actually rooting for Armenia. And the other one says, I like Azerbaijan. Fine, fair enough. Who cares? Is anybody caring if you go for Azerbaijan or Armenia? Nobody's questioning you. Nobody's saying, oh, you're just a traitor because you're going for the wrong country. You shouldn't be going for Armenia. Armenia is like, Russia. Russia likes them. You should go for Azerbaijan because they're the ones that we're rooting for. I mean, nobody cares. Nobody cares. The war between India and Pakistan. Pick a side. Who cares? But when it comes to Israel and Palestine, suddenly, if you pick a side, you're a traitor to the country. That makes no sense. I like things to make sense. I like things to be logical. I like people's train of thought to just be consistent. This is just not consistent. You're totally fine with somebody choosing Pakistan over India or Azerbaijan over Armenia or whatever, anything. But as soon as it's Palestine or Israel, people freak out and say you're a traitor, and they essentially they label you a terrorist and they want to run you out of the country. And that is exactly what's gone on against Mamdani. They're saying, well, the guy's a traitor. The guy's a terrorist. Why is that? Well, because he hangs out with these unindicted co-conspirators who we have no evidence of them doing anything wrong, but we think they're suspicious. They wear those hijabs. So that obviously they're hiding something under that hijab. So they're clearly guilty. Also, they say, oh, well, he hung out with CARE. You know, he take money from CARE. That's what Glenn Beck was trying to say. CARE, this organization. Oh, look what he was doing. He was going and taking money from CARE. CARE, the Council on American Islamic Relations. And then you might say, well, how is that any different than AIPAC? There's actually a difference. But if you look at the Council on American Islamic Relations, name the country in that name. Point it out for me. Which country is involved in the American Islamic Relations, Council on American Islamic Relations? Which country does that represent? Oh, you know what? I don't actually see a country's name in that. I don't. I see Islamic. Okay. What about AIPAC? American Israel Public Affairs Committee. Oh, so that has the name of a foreign country in it. That is very different. CARE, the Council on American Islamic Relations, that is no different than like Catholic Americans of America or Christians of America and these organizations, Mormons of America, Jews for America. These are different. That's religion. That's not stating a nation, right? That's a religion. So Council on American Islamic Relations, is the name Qatar in there? Are we seeing United Arab Emirates in there, Saudi Arabia, Palestine? I don't see a name in this. This is for Islamic Americans, just like there would be organizations for Catholic Americans, for Methodist Americans, for Jehovah's Witness Americans, for Jewish Americans. Those are fine. Those are just religions. And these are groups of people that want to protect their religious freedoms. They want to ensure that their religious freedoms aren't encroached upon. And so they get together and they have these organizations. But that is different than AIPAC. So when they try to say, how dare you criticize AIPAC, but you don't criticize CARE, again, don't let them gaslight you with these unindicted co-conspirator style sentences that mean nothing, that mean innocent person. That's what that means. So when they try to gaslight you into thinking, well, AIPAC, how is that any different than CARE? CARE is worse. Well, CARE is not listing a country as its main reason for existing. It's not rallying around a country. It's rallying around a religion. And the last I checked, we do have freedom of religion in this country. At least we're supposed to. So they're saying, how dare he coalesce with Americans, Islamic Americans? Well, but he's a Muslim. So isn't this a Muslim American organization? So why wouldn't he coalesce with them? Just like I would expect a Catholic to, like the Kennedys. How many Catholics donated to the Kennedys? How many Catholic organizations backed the Kennedys? A lot. And you know what? Okay. It is different than AIPAC. They're not advocating for, we got to give Qatar a bunch of money. We got to give the United Arab Emirates a bunch of money. They're not advocating for that. They're also saying that he received $1,300 in donations matched to the $7,700 in public funds from the Islamic Circle of North America, described by critics as a South Asian arm of the Muslim Brotherhood. Again, making statements without any, and making associations without any evidence. But it's called the Islamic Circle of North America. So again, not advocating for a foreign country, advocating for a religion. You might not like that religion. You might not like that it's growing in power and people are able to donate. And just like there's a lot of Christians that have been advocating for a lot that a lot of Americans don't like. And, it's just part of the American way. The other real reason why they're smearing Mamdani as an Islamist and trying to paint this picture is because he is very firmly pro-Palestine. He has taken some very vocal advocacy positions for Palestinian rights, co-sponsoring BDS bills, calling for the Gaza ceasefire, criticizing Israel's apartheid. All of that has put a target on his back by the Zionists to just smear him as an Islamist, smear him as a terrorist. How dare he? And now he's going to be in a position of power and they can't stand it. They can't stand it. So they're calling him an Islamist extremist, even though the vast majority of the world at this point is pro-Palestine. And I guess we're all a bunch of Islamist extremists. We're all trying to march in Sharia law. I mean, if that's the criteria, then I guess most of the world is already living under Sharia law by your definition. So yeah. He marched in pro-Palestine protests. How dare he? So they're saying this is why he's a jihadi. So this is obviously a smear campaign that is meant to evoke fear, the Islamization of New York City, the Islamization of America. And what this is most likely backed by very Zionist, pro-Zionist groups that are smearing and ushering in this sort of thinking, and getting Americans to try to operate in a fear-based way. Be afraid. And they want you to be afraid of the jihadists that are coming. And they use these words, and then they say things like unindicted co-conspirator to try to get you to say, oh my gosh, we cannot allow this to happen in our country. And then the next step from that is, well, then how do you stop it? And then you've got all the Zionists, the Israelis saying, well, we told you how we're helping you by doing the dirty work. We fight the wars for you before they show up on your soil. So see, you're in trouble. So you have to allow us to go and bomb all these babies, because those babies grow up and they become terrorists. They become jihadists. They're all named Muhammad. And then they show up and they get you. And that's what they're trying to get you to think. That's the line of reasoning. And so this is a very concerted, powerful campaign against Mamdani, and a powerful concerted effort against Muslims in America in general. And that's what's so frightening about this, that it is just so obviously a concerted, paid for, propped up campaign. When I log in on X, all I see in my feed right now is all of this anti-Muslim rhetoric and all this pro-Israel rhetoric. It's pro-Israel this, pro-Israel that, anti-Muslims this, anti-Muslim that. And it just feels like this is not organic. People are not in support of this. This is not what the majority of Americans are feeling and thinking. So where is this coming from? There are groups that want to win wars, that want to continue committing genocide. And the way they do that is by getting Elon Musk, their friend, to control the social media, to buying TikTok. They're scooping up all the media. They're doing what they need to do in order to spread the message that Muslims bad, collectively, all of them. Even though Mamdani was 10 years old when 9/11 happened, he is responsible. Even though he was 10, he's responsible. And so you see, we must kill the kids. And you have to let us, because otherwise they come for you. And you don't want that. See what's happening in New York? They're coming for you. And that is obviously a concerted campaign to smear and to fearmonger, to get us to go along with another couple of decades of endless war in the Middle East, to get us to go along with turning a blind eye to the slaughtering of children, to the burying of their bodies under mountains of rubble. That is what that is, a concerted effort to get us to go along with. It is what happened after 9/11, using our fear and our emotions to get us to behave in a certain way or to think a certain way or to support a certain thing. And that is what they're doing again against Mamdani. But my point is to pay attention to the words and ask every time, where is the evidence? This is what served many of us very well when the Democrats were smearing Donald Trump. It was the question of, okay, you say that he said this thing, but show me him saying that. And then they can't show it to you because it didn't happen. And then they do show you a little clip, it's edited, and you say, no, show me the whole thing. And then they show you the whole thing, and he didn't say at all what they claimed he said. And it's that same tactic that's being used. And it's alarming that now I'm seeing the Republicans using it. Democrats were using it for years. I was hoping we were finally out of that phase, but we're not. Instead, Republicans feel like, no, it's our turn to do all of that. And now we end up in this, having to sit here and fact check, what has Mamdani said? What has Mamdani done to prove that he's somehow a jihadist ushering in Sharia law? The fact is, nothing. Thank you for watching this clip from the full Kim Iverson Show, which you can catch Monday through Friday, 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern at KimIversonShow.com. It is free for you to watch. Again, 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern, KimIversonShow.com. See you there.